There we go. Hey everybody, welcome to an all-new episode of Holotheatre. As always, I am Dan Tartaglione. Joining me tonight as our co-host is the illustrious Matt Lutz, also known as CRG.
Hello.
And the guy who's joining us tonight as our special guest, I don't think he needs an introduction at this point. Uh, World champion, three-time world champion, Justin Desai. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. It's been a while since you've been on, but glad to have you on tonight. So
Yeah,
we're
it's good to be back. I remember I co-hosted a few times, maybe a year and a half ago,
mm-hmm.
right, kind of with the onset of COVID. I think when Jerry was sort of stepping away for a little bit,
Yeah,
I did a bunch of it, but it was fun. It's good to be back as a guest.
Yeah,
and
it seems so long ago. COVID
It
it
times.
was for
does,
sure.
thankfully. And then the
Oh
other thing is you
boy.
co-hosted earlier this year when we had Tom Struther on too.
That's right. Yep,
Yeah.
Tom, and then when we had Sperling on,
Yes,
I think I was there for that maybe a year ago,
but you're
a little
back
more than a year
now
ago. I'm
as,
back.
as our guest. So we're going to talk a little bit about Worlds. We'll talk a little bit about the OCS. So let's start with the thing that at this point everybody should know what happened. Your third World Championship, almost 2 weeks ago.
Yep. No, it was certainly. I mean, I was talking to Steve this afternoon. Actually, it really worked out almost exactly how we draw it up. I mean, like nothing could have worked out better. I mean, um, I won, and Matt coming in second was great. Sort of
Mm-hmm.
showing that our sort of new team dynamic is working out well. It didn't work so much in 2021, but the entire year, not just Worlds in 2022, has really been great. The OCS has been great.
Because you're on
The
you're,
Worlds
you're you're top seeded for OCS
top
playing here
seed for
against.
OCS, and Matt was number two, and then the Worlds echoed the same thing. And I think Joe's team had been doing really well,
Mm-hmm.
and prior to that, for a long stretch, I think the KTAD with me and Johnny at the top, obviously Steve and Mike too, was sort of regarded as the top team for a long, long stretch. And then with Mike not playing at all anymore, Johnny retiring essentially, Steve being sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, we had a little dip. So then
Mm-hmm.
this year being sort of the comeback was something that I think um, I've personally wanted to see if I could do it, like if I could come back to like feeling like I was better than other people at this game, and it kind of worked itself out on week and a half ago, where I was playing well, um, and won it, and had a really good Sunday for sure.
Like you said, though, I mean, it seems like all year you've been in the driver's seat, essentially. You went undefeated with your light side in the OCS play. Dark side, I think, had 5 losses the entire year?
Something like that, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think so. If you look at nationals, I came in ninth, and then worlds I came in ninth, and that was very
mhm.
frustrating. Um, I didn't feel like I was playing super well. I didn't really feel like I had an edge. I was getting lost in games a little bit, just like where's my direction inside of games. Usually, I feel like I can dictate where they go. And I was just feeling a little bit, yeah, maybe it's just time jump. Maybe the jump had caught up. Maybe the larger player base, not larger player base, but more people playing competitive decks and stuff was just going to sort of
Right.
edge me out a little bit. But then Steve said, "Hey, let's go to the NPC." I did top eight that, although I had to coach
Mhm.
on Sunday, so I didn't actually play the top eight. And then I qualified in the first month and I went undefeated, and I sort of was like, maybe I should just give this another chance. And that's when like Silver Glen and MHT sort of started being a little more vocal in the chat, like, hey, let's start talking a little more. Um, and I felt like I was able to outplay people in the OCS more.
Mhm.
There's a chance that if I didn't do so well in the OCS, I never would have actually went to Worlds.
Wow.
I mean, Star Wars is at a point right now where I don't always enjoy it. So if I hadn't done so well, maybe even if I just qualified, but I hadn't done so remarkably well, I might have just not gone. I have a pretty busy lifestyle, 2 kids, and teaching right now. If anybody follows like Twitter. Teaching is a totally different profession than it used to be, and I coach basketball, so there's just a lot going on.
Right.
And traveling in the middle of the work year is a lot, and I will say the world's felt. One of the things I mentioned with Steve today was, even though it went great, and even though we hung out with the people we wanted to hang out with, and we won the team tournament, and I won Worlds, and MHT came in second, and we did very well against Joe's team, and had multiple wins against Joe's team, and kind of bumped them off the pedestal a little bit. All of that's like the stuff that we want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it still was like, it wasn't like we're kids and you're sort of like high-fiving and super happy. It's still like, I don't say burden, but it's still like, it feels like a job, and it can be a lot sometimes.
I don't know. Like, if you would have seen Steve at the commentary table on Sunday, he's clapping, he's cheering, he's like, "Yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy."
It was something. I mean, Sunday was really. I mean, it was crazy because I only played like maybe 2.5 hours of games, because I beat Kyle really quick, and then I beat Hayes even faster, and then I was just waiting around most of the day for MHT's games to get going, and then the final was maybe 2 hours, but yeah, I had a really good Sunday. I mean, I think one of the things that happened, and this is something that I was excited about, is as I found myself making plays that I hadn't made over the last few years, that I used to do when I was younger. So I started recognizing like some of the methodologies of tracking that I used to do. I started coming back to those, like tracking things through the forced pile, into the used pile, back into your reserve deck. Like seeing the flow of all the cards, and not just like tracking a card, but seeing general flow of where destinies are. I started, especially with the dark side. Legend, you just get to look at your deck anyway. But with the dark side, I really started. Like anybody who watched the coverage, I drew sixes like pretty much every time I battled. But those sixes were essentially either they were tracked fully through into my force, into used, back into reserve, or they were like 80% that it's a six situations that I was getting multiple times. So I found myself feeling really good about the way I was playing on Sunday. I had a few slip-ups on Saturday, but I felt in control of all of the games that I played. I think maybe the one exception is I did lose to Joe, and that game I was just off. But all the other games, even the game against Greg that I lost, I still felt that I was doing the stuff, that I was controlling the games. And that was a good feeling, because that's where I feel like I used to have an edge there. So it was nice to reclaim some edges.
Was there a specific kind of moment or combination that you felt kind of most proud of, either Saturday or Sunday?
So I think I played round
game.
one. Yeah, round one I played against Hayes on Saturday, and I played a really tough schedule on Saturday. But I remember going over to MHT and Steve and saying, like, if I feel like our decks are decks that have gone through actual work, and other people's decks have like conversation, are built by conversations.
Okay.
Like Hayes' deck had like Run Luke Run and Bionic Hand ×2 in it, and he referenced those cards as being like really good against Rops, and we were kind of like, yeah, they're just not anymore. Like, they're okay, but like it used to be like you would put those cards in your deck and you'd beat Rops. And like MHT and I both played Rops, and we're like, yeah, that, like, those cards don't matter. I mean, they're fine, but we still felt so far ahead in that matchup. And I did lose it once, but we won it all the other times. I think we won like 6 times that Yoda CRV versus Rops, and I did lose the one time, or maybe a few less times, but I guess 5 times. But yeah, in terms of like specific plays, I mean, I think the tracking from top of reserve into force pile, using force, getting the sixes and the good cards that you want back, and sort of seeing how multiple destinies, probably 4 or 5 deep or one sort of layered, are going into different piles.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I was pretty proud of as I was doing. I played against Greg with Legend and had a similar thing where I actually had a clump of like 3 or 4 ones in the deck, and I didn't really want to draw that much. I was actually tracking them and avoiding them throughout that game.
Okay.
So I felt like in control of the game, and I felt control over my life force in ways that I hadn't. And one thing I did do in terms of prep, I actually made my decks, like physical games. And I used to do this all the time before Gem, is playing a few solo games. So it's tail into summer, like late August, I made Legend, and I made Yoda Communing, and I made Rops, and I made Shadow Collective. Those are the decks that I was considering playing. And I just played a few solo games. I shuffled with them. I sort of understood some of the tracking patterns with the actual cards. And that definitely helped throughout the tournament, for sure.
Yeah, there's no substitute for, in your seat, cards in hand, that kind of stuff. And kind of what you just explained there regarding watching cards go from, reserve to force to use. It reminds me of something that I think you explained probably 4 years ago now when we had AOBS Worlds.
Yeah, similar stuff.
Yeah, how if I remember correctly, what you said was when you would peek at your force pile, you kind of see it unfolding in front of you. So you can track it from force pile into use, so you can figure out, here's how much I want to spend, here's what I want to draw, things along those lines.
Right, like that's why I always play Masterful Move. I mean, obviously some decks you need the combo, but I'll play Masterful Move, the 6 Destiny non-combo, because if I track, I'll track a 6 into my force pile, and then I'll use that 6 to get it 2 6s together.
Right.
Okay. Which in a field of like, redraws for light side, both Legend and the 4 Destiny Luke, getting like back-to-back 6s is really great. There's multiple times where I played games where opponents were saying, redraw the 6, and I just drew another 6, knowing it was there. That was definitely felt like those edge moments.
Yeah, that's got to feel good because, like you said, you were tracking around the double 6s, and just the reaction your opponent seeing 2 6s like that probably felt really good.
Right, and I can never get there versus Joe. Joe played really fast. He put me in a stress position, and I didn't react accordingly. And then I thought about that game a lot on Saturday night, so I felt totally fine. And I beat Hayes and Kyle pretty handily with that matchup the next day. But that was the one game where I didn't feel comfortable sort of managing that, but everything else felt really solid.
So let's get into like what you so you played Legend and Rops both days. What made you decide to go with those 2 decks in particular?
So I went 36-0 with Light in the OCS, and I'd say maybe like 28 of those were the Yoda deck. Some variations on Yoda Community. I played a little bit of Old Allies, and I think maybe 1 Legend game. So as I was getting ready for it, a week or 2 out, I was sort of losing a handful with the Yoda. Like just in private games, I just never felt good with it. And the entirety of the OCS, and I said this to Steve, because people were saying, "Oh, you got to stick with Yoda. You haven't lost with it. I mean, you went 36-0. You're not gonna go 2-2. Worst case, you go 3-1." And I was like, "No, it's not really accurate, because the reason why I went 36-0 is because I felt like I was consistently. I was paying attention. I was ahead. So I built. Matt Sperling and I actually collaborated a little bit on the R2 deck, the R2 and Red 5 version that had like 6 of those. But that was a result of Set Your Course being good. Because it was like, oh, Set Your Course is going to play a ship, and you just play the Falcon and Luke, and you'll beat that deck very easily. So I won, 4 or 5 games in the OCS, or won that month, or whatever it was, or whatever I was testing against, it was crushing. And then early in the year, it was like the Tom deck was a little bit more popular, and the Camino was really good with just getting a quick transport and a quick Luke and then a quick third guy. and you could just get drains on before they could get to their 9s.
Mm-hmm.
And it played 2 Biff shuffle. So it was like that was ahead there after Tom won the P20 thing. And then I was ahead of the set your course thing with the R2s. But I didn't feel like it was ahead at this stage. And I remembered feeling like, wow, am I going to blow this by not playing the deck that I've like really done well with? You know, I don't want to, no one wants to sort of get the yips and say like, I'm going to jump off of it. But Legend was doing a lot of things that I really wanted to do, and it was winning. So it was winning like all of my games. And I played it in a regional, and I won all my games there. And I continued to play it, and I was like, it's just winning way too much. So I stuck with it. And I had a list we got down there pretty early. We got there on Wednesday, and I had a Yoda list that I was like, I think this Yoda list is really good. And we played it, but it was still losing to Brigham. The Brigham matchup was really, really bad. And I thought that deck was going to be relatively popular.
I played a Yoda communing deck and tech specifically for Brigham, so.
Yeah, and I still didn't think it, even like we had like the card that moves Force Servitude, and we had like clashes and multiple like lightsaber proficiencies to get the power bonus up, and 3 Qui-Gons to like see who's your best card against them. But it just like never, you were trying to go uphill, and like I'm sure it would have been fine, but Legend was just smooth. You were like, okay, I'm going to do nothing and play this shit because you're going on the ground. I'm going to do 3 damage where you are not strong. And Darkside decks really didn't do much more than 2 damage, except for Shadow Collective. But Shadow Collective was just a completely different entity that you could use your flip side. And we recognized with Legend that if you just waited, like infinitely waited against Shadow Collective and then played like 5 guys into one site, it was really hard for Shadow Collective to win.
Okay.
So I sort of got pushed into Legend. I played at the team tournament. I remember like messaging Mike and Steve afterwards, like, I don't like Legend. It didn't feel that good. And then we just sort of cut a bunch of 1s and added 6s. As we usually do, and it felt really good.
Yeah.
So Legend didn't lose until the finals for me.
Yeah, that kind of felt like what I was doing with my Yoda commuting is, you know, let's cut all the crap and put in 6s.
Yeah. And then the Robs, I was pretty set on Robs for the most part. Like I was never really getting off of Robs. I think I had like 57 cards, and I felt really fine with that deck. I really liked my day 2 list. My day 1 list was iffy. I had a few, like the last cards I put in I didn't love, but I really liked my day 2 list. Yeah,
I was looking at your list earlier. Did you actually use Fury at any point?
Matt did. Obviously, I think it probably won him the match. So it was an answer to the Yoda communing RT deck. That matchup was not amazing, but it got better as Rops knew what was coming. Like you weren't just all of a sudden randomly playing a shuttle into 32 power in space. So we were like winning that about like pretty even amount of time without Furry Fury, and then we just said, well, if you had Furry Fury, it was like a bye basically. Like they would never win in space, and you would just be a Rops deck, and they'd have like 3 guys you needed to worry about on the ground. So that really kind of changed it. And it's like the way it works, it triggers after Destiny. So like you can swap it after you draw Destiny. So if it's just in your lost pile, it still works.
Interesting. So yeah, let's talk about some of the matchups that you saw on Saturday and then Sunday. So with Saturday, you started off against Hayes. That was on stream.
Against Hayes, I felt good. I mean, obviously Hayes is like one of the top players. I view him as like, you know, I went into that and I said like Joe and Hayes, and other than that, I thought those were the top 2 guys, other than people that weren't on my team. So it was good to get that one early, in a sense, like a win. You know, it would have been crappy to get a loss early and say like, oh, you didn't get like an easy win. But I played tight, and then I played against Matt Scott, who beat me in a win-in 2000, the year prior.
Yeah.
Right.
And that felt really good. I mean, Matt's a really nice guy. But it was nice for 2 reasons. One, it was nice to sort of get that redemption win. But the win was very decisive, and it was a win that I probably wouldn't have won with Yoda.
Okay.
And I absolutely destroyed it with Legend. It was CCT. Oh, and nice. Yoda would have been like, he had like 3 disarms and all this stuff. But the Legend, I mean, if it was diff, it would have been like 25. I think I had like maybe 1 card in lost pile. Wow. So that felt great just to get right off the bat, one of the top 3 or 4 players there, and then mean, Matt was runner up last year.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 wins right away. And then I played against Jellison. I played that game very loose. I like opened myself up for a beatdown, and I ended up losing like 7 cards, but I could have been a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I don't know what I was thinking. I won it relatively easy after that. Like I don't think I actually lost any other cards other than like 11 battle damage over the course of 2 sort of self-inflicted battles.
He did say like that Gungan Agents of the Court deck was very battle heavy. Like he's gonna just
Yeah.
do a lot of battle overflow because not a lot of people knew what was going on with the deck.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, and I just sort of was like attacked him to prevent one.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make any sense, honestly, what I did.
Yeah.
I mean, it made no sense, but I didn't get punished for that. So I won that one. So he's another person. So I beat Hayes, who made top 8. I beat last year's finalist, and then I played Ryan, who made top 8. Then I played against
Jonathan Murray.
And that morning, after deck submissions, I think I changed it and resubmitted. I had added an under attack. So that was good. He was on walkers.
Yeah.
Right.
So I did not.
One.
Yeah, with like weapon. I got messed up with shields that game because he started mob points combo, and I don't do that again. And then he played Curative Command. I mean, I kind of knew that was coming, but I still wanted to do it. And then I got a verified turn 1, and I saw Weapon Love, and I was like, oh boy, like this is going to be tricky. Because I'm kind of down 2 shields, and it's like I probably should have not played the grabber that game. But I had a few turns where like I was satisfying battle plan, and he was not, and he's still draining. But the game wasn't really all that close. I knew that I was going to be able to under attack him. I set it up so that like he would move in front.
Okay.
Right.
And once that happened, it was Bastion told me to add an under attack, and I did. Bastion was very helpful during prep too. He messaged me frequently and was like,
"It's good."
Pretty clear that he wanted me to win, so that was nice.
And then you went. Then game 5 was against 5 and 6 were Greg Shaw back to back.
Yeah, Greg Shaw, same. That was on stream. Legend versus CCT again. I felt very comfortable the matchup, like just not playing my weapons unless I, needed to for some value, but they don't have General Grievous, so if a weapon gets disarmed, it's not the end of the world. You can just leave it raised just fine. And I just tracked a bunch, and like Ray drawing like 6s and 7s against CCT just kills like 2 or 3 guys every fight, and they can't beat you in space. And I had projection, so that the game was really. I think both of us kind of knew it really wasn't going to be, unless I messed up. But I played like conservative. Like I didn't play like Stunning Leader wasn't going to blow me out like for beatdowning rows and stuff like that. Like I didn't play it. I didn't open them up. So that was good. And then his Legend versus my Rops, he won by quite a bit. He played it well. I could never find an Emperor's Shuttle. I had the Emperor's Reach, who was really good in that matchup. But I never found a way to actually add a Battle Destiny in space, just naturally. So that was frustrating. I feel like that game would have went a little bit differently had I, but I think it was probably still a loss. Then I lost to Joe. He's like I said, he played really fast. I was able to beat him down. We had an endgame situation, like the ones where we're both pretty thin, where I made like multiple mistakes, which was frustrating. Like I needed to play a guy and I didn't play a guy type thing and move phase.
Right.
He didn't have battle plans, so like I needed to do better math about him having to pay for drains and pay for a battle and pay for movement and be able to draw destiny on 11 cards left or what have you. And I just wasn't making correct evaluations. I should have played a guy. There was one turn where I thought I was gonna battle and saved 2 force because I forget what it was. And I after draining, I was like, I should have just activated everything, played a guy, and not battled and had an extra drain for a couple turns. But it was one of those he won by a turn cycle. He played it really well, but I also, one thing I did in this game is I was like, okay, I played Haze. I knew this game was going to be really close, so I memorized like the deck list from what I saw. And then like at some point, I wrote down every card, like in between matches. I was like, okay, let me just write down, because I figured at that point Hayes was doing pretty good. That was Joe's winning in, so Joe was going to be there, and they seemed pretty high on that deck the way that they were just sort of energy when they were talking about it. So I was like, all right, let me make sure that I know what's coming. And I also played a empty Vader shuttle to space that game. On, because I knew they didn't have space, I played Haze, and I just really kind of got to read they didn't have space. And I played it empty on turn 1, and I was thinking that, hey, day 2, they're probably going to get smart and play Han Chewie Falcon as like a surprise. So that was like sort of mental layering there.
Mental gymnastics to...
Yeah, I remember thinking at the end of that game a little bit, all right, like let's get a little bit wider here. But that might be one of the reasons maybe I made so many mistakes towards the end. But I mean, Joe played it really well. And then what was nice is I got paired against MHT in the last round. He was X1 and I was X2, so it was just an easy concession on his part. So that was nice.
Okay.
Right, and both of you are 6-2 going into day 2, right?
Yeah, and
see, I get to play with MHT on the team event, and he went 3-0 with no idea and just kind of crushed things. And
he's really good with that.
Scrubbed a little bit on 1 and 2 and ended up second behind you guys.
Yeah,
right.
I mean that's kind of nice because, like you said, Matt came in second in the main event. He came in second in the team tournament. So I mean, he had a good weekend too.
No, he was playing great, and and we didn't do, so he went to bed. Steve and I went to dinner. Matt went to dinner with us, and it's that Saturday night, like, should we change? What should we change? Didn't like this, did like this, talked about it. Johnny came by a little bit and chatted it up. I messaged Bastion pretty late. I had trouble sleeping. I was like, do I want to get off ROPS? Should I play map? But ultimately, I made very minimal changes to both lists, probably like 5 cards.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, have you gone from a day 1, or I guess a day 1 or 2 or 2 to 3, however you want to call it, for Worlds, and made such minimal changes between dark side and light side decks?
That's a good question. No, I guess I haven't really made so few changes. This probably was, I guess in 2015, the dark stayed almost identical. And the throne room we played like a bunch of space in it the second day. But that was, we kept those decks. But yeah, all the other years, actually, I guess the other year that I won, so I guess that's a good testament. I should just keep the decks, because 2013 I don't think I changed. Oh no, I did change. I changed the whole light deck, but I kept the dark deck completely the same.
Sure. And do you think that the how they do pairings for day 2/day 3, or whatever you want to call it now, does that influence your decisions on keeping your main event decks?
One thing I said is I didn't want to focus on a deck, and I'd done this a few times in the past, where I would focus on a deck that was sort of off kilter, and I would kind of work to adjust to that. So for instance, the Kessel Run deck that made top 8 was in the bottom half of the bracket. And I said a few times, I don't want to hyper fixate about how to beat that deck, because A, I might not play it, A, he might not play it. And I'd rather just be solid, and B, you can lose a game and then win the match. So I wasn't like, I'm going to play super weird stuff. I changed ROPS just to be a little bit cleaner. The ROPS list I played the first day, I just had too many vehicles in hand. Blizzard 4 was never good, so I just cut them and just made the deck a little bit leaner. Played the second Blizzard 1, which was money, and that felt great. Just not having these clunky vehicles in my deck, only having 3 instead of 5. My hands were just so clean.
Right. I got both lists up now. Kind of look at the changes.
And then the R2 was kind of cool for a number of reasons, because we went to 2 Anakin on just the full strike planning legend list. And then I was like, well, R2's great because he's you pull that card, that once per game
Mm-hmm.
Luke thing, and R2 just is that permanently. And he's also a grabber, and he's also good against he's sort of a grabber, but he's good against the nines deck. Like both of his modes are good against the nines deck. Which I wouldn't necessarily think I was that great against, but anyway, but gives you a little bit of delay if you can maybe race a little bit and play something out of play.
Right.
And he's a 6 that you can sense with, so we were pretty high on finding that in the morning.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play much with R2V, but I've got him in a couple of decks where, you're running a bunch of Lukes, you're running a couple of Anakins, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the things that we did was a lot of it was talking. Like it wasn't like I figured that the Hayes' teams, it was Hayes, Kyle, and Joe, that they were going to stick with the light deck. Because I think it did really well for them. And I also thought that they probably wouldn't necessarily stick with the dark. That if they were going to get off of one, it was the dark. And if you're going to change decks, you're probably not going to change both decks. So I figured they might do the thing of, hey, let's all stick with light and just like do different things with dark. So we just did a lot of thinking about their light deck and them having 0 Hujik, 0 barrier, 0 dodge. We just sat that night, me, Matt, and Steve were like, what if you just save force and like play every card in your hand against them? Like, and just fight. Like just play Ozzel and pull Thrawn instead of Piet, and like hope like Tarkin's amazing, and just drop everything onto one guy. And that is kind of what I did against Hayes and Kyle. I mean, Hayes played it a little bit safer, but at some point they can't just go to one site because you have space and you have your objective. Like you can just flip or whatever and consolidate. But I think the fact that there was no Hujiks was really sort of empowering for us as we had a lot of these conversations going into the tournament. Felt really good about that.
Yeah, playing a mains deck with no Hujiks is playing on hard mode.
Right, and I think like I remember talking to Matt before he played Joe, and I was like, yeah, like just find your 6s and just like pummel the sites. So that definitely, like when you have a matchup against good players and you can find like an angle that you really like a line that can really like that confidence boost can be really helpful. To be like, all right, normally like a game against Joe or whoever is like, okay, let's do a battle of skill. There's gonna be luck involved. Obviously, there's luck regardless. But when you can find a line that you really want to pursue, that can be like really empowering. And then, so Sunday I played against Kyle, and I played dark first, wanting to use that line. So that was like the thing. I want to play the dark first and see if this works. And I beat down Qui-Gon for 11 twice. Like actually 11 plus Qui-Gon twice. So I guess that's 19 battle damage. And I did that on two times, just using that plan. And then the second game against Kyle was sort of just closing the deal. It doesn't have any space, and I have essentially a drain 3 system. And then Hayes, it was a similar thing where, and Hayes got a pretty rough draw. He didn't get his he got his Took Spoilers, but activated the Jedi Council Chamber and stuff like that. But I had Imperial Decree, so he was able to stack which is a card we didn't have the first day.
Yeah, I noticed that on your list. I was going to ask you that.
That was a morning cut, so the under attack was a morning great cut, but the Imperial Decree was a very bad cut that morning on Saturday. So it was easy to move that card back in, along with Surface Defense. So I think, your mains deck against ROPS, you have to fight in some capacity,
right?
But you have to invade. You can't just sit and drain the Cantina. No. That's not going to be enough to win. So against Hayes, he put out some guys, and I beat down Luke for 10 or so. And it was one of those situations where he redrew a 6 into a 6. And that was sort of all she wrote for that one. And then got to play Matt in the finals, which was a tight match.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the finals match seemed like it did go a lot longer. Like you were saying, with especially with the Hayes match, it just seemed like you sat down and then really quick it was just you guys were standing up. Uh, and I even saw like just the look on Joe's face as he was playing Matt was just in shock.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been such a large win with Rops in the mid-20s that, some people might have think that Hayes acted like emotionally, but I don't necessarily think that. I think would have been a large win, and like very similar to the game. I beat Kyle by 20 and had no doubt that Legend was going to be able to not lose by 20 against Shadow Collective without space.
Yeah.
And a drain of 3, and your flip side objective is your flip of your objective is going to get you that one buffer, and it's not like I was just going to put a guy out like to get beat down. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I would have stacked 3 guys all at once, and then put 2 resistance guys to space for the extra ping, and try to get Holdo up there so I could ping for a drain for 3, and there's no place for force servitude. So I mean, Hayes knew all this stuff prior to that, so
yeah,
I don't necessarily. I mean, obviously, conceding is always a little bit of a hot button topic, but I don't think it was like an irrational move.
Right.
So that was all your Worlds experience. Now you're into the OCS playoffs and everything. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, your first match with Eric's coming up pretty quick.
I'm definitely less enthused. Like, win Worlds, and it was exciting, and I did so well in the OCS. I'm not necessarily all that. I have maybe played 1 game on Gem. I'm very content. Like, if Eric beats me, that's cool. I have a few decks that I'll think about playing, but I'm not. I viewed Worlds as a big thing. Like, I viewed it as something I wanted to win, and I wanted to go after it. And I sent a couple of my Magic buddies texted me and Mike, maybe like mid-September. They're like, "Hey, do you want to play in these, like RCQs? These basically what PTQs used to be.
Yeah.
You want to stay in the schedule?" And I messaged. I think this was the last week of September. I was like, "No, I want to focus on Star Wars. Like, I've been playing well, and I want to win. Like, I want to win Worlds. I didn't want to like place. I wanted to win.
Yeah.
Like the OCS, it's like I'm gonna play my games, but I'm not like trying to win the OCS. I think with all of the major, like I've said for this for a while, there's exactly one Star Wars tournament that I care about. Like, I dropped from day 2 of the OCS, or the NPC, that was a no-brainer. I wanted to coach my game.
Yeah.
Like, there's exactly one event that I cared about. I wanted to win it for the 3rd time. The OCS will be fun, but I don't necessarily have like that competitive fire for that.
Right. OCS games are nice, and they're good to keep you sharp, but
yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's always fun to play, but like, yeah, Worlds was something that was like important to me.
Yeah.
And the OCS is, play the games because I qualified, and there's a little bit of money on the line, I guess.
Right.
And you always want to win, but I don't have.
So
the
I take
fire.
it the rumors of your retirement are not true.
No, they're very true. I am probably done. I mean, the layers of it, we'll see, but I would never do. Well, the word never is tough. Right. I can't envision doing what I did this year.
Right.
And not that I was, stuck in my office playing cards by myself for 20 hours a day, but I was thinking about it enough. I was thinking about it quite a bit. I was taking a shower, and I was thinking about, card choices, and I obsessed a little bit, and I prepared very heavily. And in a sense, it's great that I prepared, and I saw that I could prepare and then get the result I wanted, which is great. But I don't think I would do that again. So like Worlds 23 is in New York. It's in the summer. I'm a teacher. Maybe I will go, but if I go, it'll be the way that I went in 2015, which is I played like net decks. I printed off the deck that won the NPC. I changed 2 cards. If you actually go from like the NPC winning deck that Joe played, my World's winning deck, it's like 6 cards different. Right. And then I built a throne room. I was like, hey, let's build throne. No one's playing throne room. Let's play throne room. But I don't think I played more than 2 games. There wasn't Jump. I wasn't on Holotheatre. So have I played my last Worlds? I'm not sure, but I'm not going to sort of go into the whole prep. I mean, Mike Jem came out and we drove down to Steve's empty restaurant on a Sunday when they were closed, and we gamed for 10 hours. Wow. We went to a regional. You know, the texts were back.
Mm-hmm.
MHT and I were playing a bunch.
Right.
I was playing with Jemp Tom. I was messaging Jemp Tom a lot. He gave me a lot of help throughout it. Bastion was messaging me. I went all guns blazing on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's, hey, you know, my in-laws are in, my wife's family's in Philly. Let's go to Philly in July, Worlds that weekend. Sure. But I'm essentially retired from where I'm at. Yeah.
Okay.
I probably won't play the OCS in 2023.
Makes sense.
Just to kind of detach from it. Maybe I'll play a month or two, but I won't do the season pass. Or I'll do the season pass, but I'm not going to be someone who's like filling up the games.
Yeah, I know that makes sense. So on that topic, how did you find the time this year to grind through all those games? Because that's something I can't do. I sign up for OCS every year, and the PC just takes my $50.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sleep that much. I've talked about that a few times. I have the ability to make the bad choice to not sleep at times, but it has caught up to me on a few occasions. But there's times where, you know, my kids go to bed around 8, and I'll do my school stuff from 8 to 10:30, and I'll play from 10:30 to 2:30, and I wake up at 4:30 every day. So
that's rough.
You know, I was on 2 to 3 hours of sleep for a number of years. So this year I went back to that a little bit. In the summer I played a lot, but yeah, I don't sleep much.
Yeah, and I get up and I'm up at 4:30 and go and run and get some miles in before 6. But I know if I'm not in bed by 10:30, I'm a miserable POS the next day.
Well, we got to get.
No, I mean there were nights where I was like playing people on the West Coast, and they're like, "All right, I gotta go to bed." The West Coast people.
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right,
I've seen
Tom."
that.
Like, yeah, you've seen it. Where like I played. I think Tom's in Cali, right?
Tom,
or is he in Baltimore? Maybe he's in Baltimore. But I know that he was up. It was like 3 a.m, and I'd be playing, and I'd be like, "Hey, do you want to get one more?" He's like, "No, I gotta get sleep." So
yeah. No, so
that's good.
Okay, so but speaking of like retirement and majors and everything, again with the OCS playoffs, let's go ahead and get through all this, just the rigor,
the business,
the business of the game, and then I've got something special to announce as well. So the OCS playoffs.
I've heard a rumor of this. I requested JNAP that this be my little thing to go with the show. Kind of exciting.
So checking up on the OCS playoff, the brackets. We saw earlier yesterday, Bill Kafer took game 1 from Matt Harrison Trainer. Bastion advanced over Ryan Saracen today, and then Gavin took game 1 from Connor. So
game 2 is following Holotheatre tonight, right?
Yeah, they're starting at 10 on Justin Mishiro's channel.
I will say this, Bastion. I mean, if it's not someone from my team, MHT, Steve, I hope Bastion wins. He was incredibly supportive during my Worlds, leading up to Worlds. He gave me thoughts on Legend, and during Worlds was like messaging me like, "Hey, you should do this to this, and I think this would be a good idea," and encouraged me to get sleep, and just really supportive stuff. It was really cool, to sort of get that support. So I'm certainly rooting. When I saw Bastion beat Ryan today, I was certainly hyped for that one.
Yeah, we
formed a nice friendshab. Actually,
good.
more recent. We've known him for 20-something years, but we've had him nice. I think from Germany. When that was 2019. He came and won in 2018. And I was like, man, I got to get it back. Like, not like it pissed me off, but kind of like, hey, I'm not taking that. But it was then we went out there, and he was really cordial and everything. So, it's been nice communicating with him.
Yeah, he's definitely a nice guy. Like, he's not one of those guys that he's got 3 world championships and he's gonna hold it over everybody's head.
He's been very complimentary
Mhm.
complimentary of me, and we messaged. He messaged me and he said, "Well, I'll give you a few years off until I win number 4,
Number 4.
the race for
Maybe he'll,
4."
maybe he'll do it for at Euro Worlds in 2024. I'll be
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Nice, that'd be good.
Okay. Then we have a major coming up in January out in San Diego, January 20th through the 22nd. The Star Wars is returning to San Diego, so
That's exciting. I will not be going.
yeah, it's exciting. Like it's been a while. Chris is doing his diligence in getting this one set up. And then everybody, make sure you guys fulfill the player survey, the 2022 player survey. You have until November. It doesn't say.
Was it 7? I thought it
I
was
think
November
it's the
7th.
7th. Yeah, I think it's November 7th.
Get their stuff in.
And then recently, the collecting encyclopedia was updated. It includes a bunch of stuff. Kevin Wilson, Jack Green, Greg Zinn, and Robert Vornlocker all did a bunch of stuff on this. So big thanks to them. And then the 20...
Yeah, that document's really cool.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh no, you're good, Justin.
Oh, you're fine.
They did a lot of work, and it's really cool just to see what's out there. And then the 2023 donations program is coming soon. All new stuff. It's going to be open from November 15th through March 15th. Shipping is going to take place around April, May. Everything's going to be shipped by June 30th, and then PC deck boxes are going to be included on this. And spoiler alert,
Ooh.
I think we got to show it
New
off.
PC deck boxes? Oh my gosh.
New PC deck boxes. Justin, what's your favorite design card that you've done?
It's not the one that is probably on the box, but that image is incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it was my second OCS win that I got this for, and I thought it would be like a really played card. I don't know what I was thinking. The card's like basically unplayable, but the image is great, and it'll be good. It's great to see it on a deck box.
And here it is. One of the new deck boxes, Jared sent us over the image today. It is Boba Fett, or just Boba, the light side variant of it. So,
yeah, that's sick. This is the first time I've seen it. That's really sick.
Yeah, I haven't seen it all.
Yeah, Jared was like, "Yeah, make sure you keep this secret from everybody." He swore me a secrecy.
The boxes are so incredibly, like, amazing.
Yeah,
like they are. Here's my like stash of stuff. You can see all there.
Yeah, I've got.
Unpacking. But I mean, every trip that I've ever done with OTSTs is you get out, you unpack, and they're like a brand new one is just completely destroyed. I mean, the tops stay a little bit, but the bottoms just get shredded. And like I'm taking these boxes out, and it's like we're in like baggage claim and all getting smushed, and they're just like still in mint. I mean, a little dent here and there, but I mean the quality is so insane.
Yeah,
and the sizing's great, and they look great.
Yeah, I mean the only bad thing about them is everyone's got the damn thing, so you got to make sure someone doesn't walk off with yours. Yeah,
I was wondering that. I thought about like bleaching parts of it and like putting like stickers on and stuff.
I've thought about putting stickers on the inside of them.
We got stickers for I did stickers. I know we did stickers for like the Indoor Grand Prix. I was going to do those again this year for Worlds, where it has your name and Gemp on it. Well, maybe I'll do some more of those for everybody.
But that could be a cool little feature, like a little add-on in the future of like for like prizes, is like some sort of patch for the deck boxes or like sticker
right
with your with your name or some.
Yeah, leave like a blank space for like a name card or whatever.
Right, but I will be collecting these through retirement. I will say that.
Yeah, they're great.
That's good. So now the question is, who's going to be the first one to get it besides Brian Fred? Because we all know he's going to be the first one.
Brian Fred's been trying to get my top 8 Ahsoka foil. I was like, I think I'm going to keep it. I want it. It's a nice little memento.
It is.
Yeah,
which he respected that one, but.
And then.
Yeah, they're exciting. Do we have the full list, or are we just spoiling one?
That's just the one.
All right.
Jared's keeping it close to his chest. And then
What do we think, Matt? What do you think the other ones will be?
Oh, I've got no idea. I stay out of those. um,
I don't know.
I don't
Like,
know. I'm not terribly a graphics guy, or you know.
I think one has to be Hera. Like Hera is one of
Hera's
the
good.
best images.
I think the going with the theme of like unplayed cards with great images is like the Baby Yoda.
Grogu.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Like that card, I don't think it's ever been in a tournament deck. But it's like the image is really great.
Yeah. I don't know. Like Din Djarin's good, but do you really want to have 2 Mandalorians on boxes?
Yeah, I don't think you would do Jin and Boba.
Yeah.
That Boba's sweet though.
Yeah. And then looking ahead, the Get playtesting. They're looking for playtesters. If you're interested in playtesting, go ahead and check out the forums about that.
You can PM Stubbly on Slack or on
Yep.
on forums, and take it from a guy who's currently on them and has access to what's there. I encourage you to be there. Your help is needed.
Yes. Oh, Bill in the chat is saying some good ones. Hera, Goguru, Grievous, Maul.
Maul?
Maul would be a decent one.
Which Maul though?
Yeah, I was gonna say which one.
Half Maul.
He's okay. He doesn't. He's good. Just there's some ones that are just like so wild where you're like, the AI read.
Yeah, that one's a good image. Okay, so do we want to get into Swing and a Miss really quick? I don't think we don't have time. Okay. So first question. Yeah, we got a couple. First question of the night. One of Johnny Chuk's kids will win a major tournament in the next 5 years. Matt, let's start with you.
I went 1-1 against the Chu family this past weekend, but I think in 5 years, given the age of those kiddos, I'm going to say this is a miss. But they're going to win locals and will be winning at some point.
I'm going to say it's a hit. I mean, 5 years is a long time, and they had some success. I think it really all just depends on if they keep playing. They seem to have a ton of fun.
Oh, they're happy as hell.
They were pumped. I made a point to like really sort of reach out. Steve and I were both like really sort of like asking about their games and sort of talking trash about other people as they were playing them. And we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, Matt almost lost to Benji.
Connor almost lost to Benji.
Like Matt's like, you'd say Matt's like, top 2 or 3 people in the game right now.
Yeah.
And like, and their dad, I don't know who their dad is, so I think it's very possible. I think it doesn't hinge on like them having the ability to do it. I think it's if they just stay, if Johnny stays interested, because I messaged him this summer, maybe I want to say like May or June. I was like, hey, I'm just gonna send you some decks. Because he goes to Vermont every summer, and I was originally going to go up there and play, but it was one of those things where it's just a 2-hour drive sounds great when it's like a couple weeks out, but then when it's like that week, I'm like, oh, 2-hour drive, I'm not sure I can pull it off in like a full day in the summer. But we meant to just like play cards, and I'd sent him like my Yoda list and my OA list and Agents and Shadow Collective, and they played like he like built the decks, and they just like would play like at night with his kids. So
yeah, they were super sharp.
Do that. Yeah, if they do that, there's no reason. And it's also major. I mean, winning Worlds, people put a lot of emphasis on it, but like winning like San Diego or something like that, where like make it to top 4 and someone scoops them in, you know what I mean? Stuff like that I think can certainly happen.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, like watching Benji play, like I was reviewing a lot of the film from today, and like that game against Matt, he was playing really well. Like he was playing stuff that outside of like maybe Scott or Johnny, like you don't see coming.
See them like make. I mean, like there's sequencing things that I think that they'll get with time, but like I'll see people forget in the majors I didn't go to this year. I saw a ton of mistakes from like people not looking at using their objectives or not flipping or not doing this or not doing that, and like you don't see that much out of them. Like they play pretty tight. They don't miss too much, and they're young and they're young minded.
Yeah.
So think it's certainly possible.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say Benji's gonna hit definitely get it. Like that kid, this kid's gonna be special at this game if he sticks with it.
Winning a major is hard for some people. Not hard for people with that last name. So no, Bill.
What's next?
Next one. Light side needs more deck options in the current meta. Justin, we'll start with you.
No, I don't know. The meta seems wide open. You can kind of play a lot. Legend's good. Yoda Communing's good. No Idea is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
There's variations on stuff. It would be cool to see like the Rebels thing become good again. But I think there's a lot of stuff on both. I think Dark Side's a little more limited.
I don't know. Like it just felt like, especially at Worlds, like I saw a lot of Yoda Communing in particular. But at the same time, it's like I felt like Dark had a lot more. Like I saw Shadow Collective, CCT. I saw almost everything that you could think of, like the top decks when it comes to Dark. Like I'm just tired of seeing like communing.
CCT was a mistake though. Like I don't think that was a good call. And like Robson Shadow Collective are, to me, and Brigham are like very much in the nines deck. Are very much like probably. It feels like those are the only decks you can play. Where light side, it's like. I think the decks you can play are a little bit wider. You can play Diplo. I think it's like a fine choice. You know, and like I don't know if there's that many decks like that for Dark. Maybe like Walkers, I guess. A deck like that.
I mean, Gavin had some good success with Walkers today against Connor.
Bill, see that's the thing. Just responding to Taco Bill. Yes, that is a championship for you. But talking about the Chew kids, they actually will win real championships. Yes, we understand that winning against us in tournaments that we will probably win are representative of like major event, like life moments. But unless the question was, I'm trying to get back to my old ways of talking trash. I need to tap in Steve right now. Steve used to say that. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, they beat me. It was the best day of their life."
Matt, what do you think about this question?
I was going to say it's a hit on this one just because we saw so much Yoda communing at Worlds. I mean, it was... And I think I'll probably shake out.
The thing with the Yoda communing is like it was very popular. It was very like public that I went 36-0 with it, and I felt like a lot of people just maybe. I mean, the Team 5 deck they kind of built their own version of the farm and all that. That was almost like their Qui-Gon list from the year before. But like I walked by Fred and he's just like playing the R2s and I don't know. I feel like that was just a little bit of like we'll play chalk. But no, I think there's a lot of options. I really do.
Okay. Question number 3: the point of emphasis, the pace of play, calling judges. It seemed to work at Worlds.
That's a huge hit. That was great.
Agreed.
That was great. I think just a little extra pace. You didn't have people just sitting there thinking for overt amounts of times. The fact that you had to sort of do something, obviously you think here and there, was great. And then the rule stuff, I think that stuff needs to be normalized in our community. Like I remember actually, Matt, you were playing against Brian, and I was like, hey, that's not how Shadow Collective flips. There was no like animosity in that. There was no. It was like, oh, cool. This is we fixed it, and we have a better game because of it.
Yeah.
I was in the team tournament, which I guess maybe you're not supposed to do active judging there, but like, I just felt like it's just better. And I've been in those situations where I've like, I mean, I have not it was famous, but like I had 2 Obi-Wans in the top 4 worlds. In a match that I lost, and almost like happy that I lost it. But like that shouldn't be like allowed to. It should be allowed for someone to say, "Hey, wait, what's going on?" You know?
Right.
Like, I mean, you're not going to catch every single thing.
No.
But I liked that a lot. And also, it puts less pressure on the players to like.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to play tight, but at the same time, I just think that's good to have those things.
Right.
And
it was run really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Chris and Greg ran a really good event.
No, Bill. I look, responding to Bill. I don't think we need 5 to 10 minutes. I played ROPS. I only played it 3 times on day 1 because I got the concession. But all of my games were well under time.
Nice. And last question. Lightside will have over 55% win rate in the GEMP AI Booster Bonanza.
What's it at now? 50 something?
Yeah, it's in the... We need Echo Base Trooper.
Need Fletcher. Can I say it's a hit just because I think people have to find other ways to play a third effect that's not Walkling, even though that might be kind of devastating to all things Lightside going second. I'll just be contrarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea what the format is. I don't keep up with that one. Java.
Yeah.
I'll pass.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hit.
Everyone say hi to Monster the cat.
What's up, Monster?
So, according to Jared on Slack, he's saying that the deck boxes are on their way. However, they got delayed in Indianapolis.
And I have a question for Jared. Can I win one for being the world champion? or I have to unretire and win one?
There you go.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's a good question.
It is.
Hopefully Jared says it's a hit.
Well, we got one last thing before we pass on to Justin Miyashiro with Connor versus Gavin Game 2. I don't know if you've been watching, Justin, but we do the whole underlying card, the V-slip, to win some Holotheatre stuff.
The underlying card challenge?
The underlying card challenge.
I use glue sticks.
The
answer would be it's a stormtrooper. But yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, you get some help, so Matt will be your helper.
I'm terrible at this game, so let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, you got 15 seconds. If one of you guys gets it, you both win. Your card.
What do we win?
Holotheatre packs.
Ooh.
Yeah, get AIs. I know you got one right now. You got Ezra Bridger right now.
I think I know this one.
Coruscant Jedi Temple Meditation Room.
Because I got the
ahead.
AI. Oof. I feel like it's a Cloud City site, but I could be wrong.
I have no idea. I never put it together in person. This is the only way I know these things.
Is it
Time's up.
Yeah,
the lower corridor?
I told Brad you were going to get it. It is the lower corridor.
There we go.
Is it really?
It is the lower corridor.
Good job, Justin.
Let's go. Well, the thing is, they gave us like 1,000 of those AIs.
They did.
Like that AI is. It was funny because we were getting the AI like bonanzas from Jared in the boxes, and Steve goes like, what deck is going to play 5 Lore Santecas? He's like, why do we have so many Lore Santecas?
Well, I mean, they gave out a lot of that one, but they didn't give a lot of like the Yoda's Hut or.
Well, I will tell you something. With the erratas coming, the Qui-Gon foil might be the one to keep. A little tidbit for everyone.
So
Qui-Gon communing probably not getting too touched, right? It hasn't really been a deck for a while.
Okay.
But Yoda, like you said, Yoda communing was 18 out of 51 decks at Worlds. It's probably getting the post-Worlds, errata chop up stuff that they oftentimes do. But like, I mean, unless it's just communing that takes the hit. But Qui-Gon has not really been seen, so that deck could pop back up.
I think the last time it was really played was in Endor when Jeff Levine won the Grand Prix.
No, Tom won with
Geb Tom with his
that's right.
the Nabrin deck.
Right. Drekka Battle Planes, draw it for Neighboring Destiny.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, anywho.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, that's all we got for tonight. So.
Can I give a couple shout outs and then I'm out?
You got it.
I'll give a shout out to Steve for just being my guy. Shout out to Mike Jem for coming out of retirement. Shout Shout out to MHT being like we're good all year. Hope he wins in 2023. Shout out to Sperling, who kind of was like early on this summer. We were just chatting about Star Wars cards. That was cool. He also had a really nice quote about friendship that I really appreciate. Shout out to Johnny for bringing his kids back. How to be a part of it again. Shout out to Gem Tom. Steve's gonna hate that I'm shouting out Gem Tom, but he got a lot of games with me. Shout out to Bastion, already did that, and that's it. No other shout outs. Take it the KTOD away. Everyone else, your run is done. We're dominating again. Peace.
All right. Thanks,
Awesome.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. And as always, may the force be with you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.